5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
This is About Space, America's return to space, with news and information on our U.S. space program.
From our About Space Today World Headquarters, I'm John Gomez. This week in space, the possibility of a private mission to upgrade the Hubble Space Telescope, China has a secret space plane, and Starship's next test flight. This and more next, as America and the world is listening to About Space Today.
D&D Cruise and Tours is the official agent for About Space, and we invite you to come fly away to all-inclusive resort island destinations, or a cruise vacation from Port Canaveral, and even visit the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex, or just come and see the parks. Call for a discount cruise or an island getaway or the Florida beaches. Call today. The call is free, and so are our services. Call 877-747-8631. That's 877-747-8631. We are Florida's group travel specialists.
Welcome back. The Polaris trio of missions haven't even launched yet, and already their founder has aspirations of being more than just a transport to the International Space Station. CEO Jared Isaacman wants Polaris to lead a mission to upgrade the Hubble Space Telescope. The Polaris program's Hubble proposal was first made public in 2022, and NASA asked other companies to send in ideas as well as a request for information that closed in early 2023. Although no updates have been provided by NASA, a Freedom of Information Act request was completed recently, leading to the release of emails from NASA about the plan and what risk it would put on Hubble, whose last servicing mission was in 2009 using a space shuttle. CEO Jared Isaacman talked about the upcoming Polaris Dawn mission.
I didn't think I was going to space again. I mean, it felt so fortunate to be part of that experience. But coming back from Inspiration 4, seeing the direction SpaceX is going with Starship, having an opportunity to participate in a real developmental program where you're either, testing technology and techniques that haven't been done in 50 years or something that hasn't been done at all, was pretty exciting. So, we came up with some great objectives for the Polaris program, thrilled to sign up for it, and also continue some of the good work we're doing with St. Jude.
He also talked about what it could mean for a Polaris crew to be on a manned test flight of SpaceX's Starship spacecraft in a subsequent mission.
Right. So, just starting with the first one, Polaris Dawn, which is what we're getting ready for early next year. And basically, we have three objectives on that mission. One, we're going to go to the highest Earth orbit ever flown, so farther away from Earth since the last time somebody walked on the moon 50 years ago. So that's pretty cool. But besides just being, a really interesting view and altitude, we're going to gain a lot from radiation exposure really close to the Van Allen radiation belt. And that informs two things. One, just vehicle design, because avionics don't like radiation. And two, if we are going to, get to the moon, ideally get to Mars at some point and back, we'd like to do it and be healthy along the way. So maybe find ways to develop some countermeasures to better protect crew on a journey that hopefully a lot of people will be able to undertake one day when Starship comes online. Two, we're going to do an EVA. So we're going to do a spacewalk. We're going to vent the entire Dragon capsule down to vacuum, and then we're going to exit the vehicle. And the reason for that is when we do get back to the moon and eventually get to Mars, we're probably going to want to leave the safety of our vehicle or habitat and get work done on the surface of the planet. So we need to be able to make spacesuits not like one at a time as it's been done over the last 40 years that cost hundreds of millions. We need to be able to mass produce lots of spacesuits for the amount of people that we hope someday be able to send to Mars. Not to mention gaining experience with the operations will help future missions. And then third, we're going to communicate over Starlink satellite constellation. Instead of the ground stations and satellites that were 40 years old that are kind of slow. So when we do get to Mars and you want to send a video message home, you can be able to do that. Keep that good connection back to Earth. So that's one of our three objectives, along with about 40 science and research experiments over 5 days.
Polaris Dawn has no officially scheduled launch date, though it is expected to launch later this year. In other news this week, on May 26th, reports emerged that China's National Space Administration had launched an unknown object into orbit. It is believed to have been launched from China's experimental reusable spacecraft as part of its third mission. Jonathan McDowell of the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics and a space activity tracker first flagged the event. He speculates the object could be a sub-satellite deployment, though there is no evidence of exactly what it is as of this report. China has maintained strict secrecy around this mission. The country's space authorities have not released images or descriptions of the spacecraft. The only official Chinese report on the activity was a short launch report hours after the event. Stay tuned to About Space Today News for updates on this story. Finally this week, it looks like we're getting closer and closer to Starship's next test flight. On May 24th, SpaceX set a tentative launch date of June 5th for the next integrated test flight, pending receipt of an updated Federal Aviation Administration license. In a press release, the company stated that the primary objectives will be executing a landing burn and a soft splashdown in the Gulf of Mexico with the Super Heavy booster and achieving a controlled entry of Starship. SpaceX doesn't plan any in-flight tests of Starship, such as opening the vehicle's payload bay door or transferring propellant. The vehicle will fly a similar trajectory with a splashdown of the ship in the Indian Ocean. This Week in Space will keep you up to date on this and future test flights of Starship. Make sure you check out our Facebook page, aboutspace.today, for launches and landings, and invite your family and friends to listen weekly. You can find us on your favorite podcast platforms like Apple, Spotify, Libsyn, and more. Be sure to join David Denault twice a month for Special Report and Don Meyer every Friday for America in Space. Whether you're listening on the International Space Station or just on your phone, thanks for joining me. I'm John Gomez, and you just learned a little bit about space today.